Well, one quote I love is motion is lotion. So if you move, you're going to feel better. There's a lot of people in the strength training world that say women need to be lifting heavy. But for me, if somebody is not exercising and not doing anything that they do to help their mobility,
Mhm,
to help prevention of falls,
mhm.
anything they do is going to help women after 50, 1 in 2 women when they get osteoporotic fracture. And not everybody's going to go to a gym. You've got to do things that people are actually going to do. And you can train to failure with more repetitions.
Welcome to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, the podcast for high achievers who want to stay sharp, focused, and full of energy despite their diagnosis. With your host, National Board Certified Functional Medicine Health Coach, Julie Michelson, where Julie helps you take your power back from autoimmunity. And now, here's your host, Julie Michelson.
Welcome back to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast. I'm your host, Julie Michelson, and today I'm joined by Jennifer Patrick. Jennifer helps women over 50 regain energy, confidence, and vibrant health by focusing on managing blood sugar through exercise, including strength training, eating whole foods, and reducing stress. With a master's in psychology and health from the University of Stirling, a master's in exercise science from Auburn University, and certifications as a personal trainer, health coach, and UK public health practitioner, Jennifer brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to her work. She believes that small, consistent changes lead to big, sustainable results, and that vibrant health is all about progress, not perfection. In today's conversation, we're talking about the importance of strength training, especially for women over 30 and more especially for women over 50. Jennifer shares her expertise regarding successful strength training with autoimmunity and provides tips on incorporating exercise into your day in a way that is fun, safe, and supports your health for the long term. Jennifer, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to be here.
I am so excited for this conversation because I know how important this topic and especially your approach on it is for people to learn about and to hear and to incorporate into their wellness. So tell me a little bit about what got you into the wellness space. Share your story with us.
Okay, I've always loved exercise from when I was a little girl, but as I got older, I used to just run. So I've done over 50 half marathons and 8 marathons, and I got this test that looked at my age. It compared your biological age with your other age, and I was 10 years older than I should have been. So I had an interview with somebody similar to yourself, a functional medicine doctor, and we went through everything, what I eat. I don't smoke, I don't drink too much, and we are trying to figure out what had aged me.
Uh-huh.
And it was oxidative stress. It
Yes,
was
ma'am.
too much running. And so from that, I started strength training more. Now, having said that, previously I'd done bodybuilding when I was younger. So I already knew how to strength train. I've
Mhm.
always known it was important. But I just got caught up in what a lot of women do. They get caught up in cardio and
Yes.
don't realize how important muscle is. Muscle is like a metabolic sponge, and it
Yes.
can help so much with chronic conditions like osteoporosis, prediabetes, RA. It just has so many benefits. So that's what I'm looking forward to talking with today.
I love it because it is women do tend to shy away from strength training, and those of us over 50 more than even younger women, I think it is so important. Also, for I'm constantly talking to my mom is in her 80s, and It's the same thing, and we do BIAs and metabolic testing and but even just as you're older for stability, right? Like just safety of, hey,
Yeah, and
those,
just to get through the daily activities of living, like
yeah,
picking up your groceries and walking up a set of stairs. If you don't train for strength, you lose strength, and you
yes,
lose between 3 and 8% per decade after age 30. So it's quite a substantial loss if you don't train. So, one of the misconceptions that women think is that they have to do a lot. And
right.
it is true that you need to lift heavier if you're gonna be in competitions and things like that. But just what you mentioned, like your mother, like my grandmother, she's 103 years old. She is
Wow.
still alive, but she doesn't have mobility. And I
Right.
think about that a lot. I think, she's still alive, but she's in the
Mhm.
bed. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well,
So
and use it or lose it really is real. Like there
it
is
is. It
this
is.
natural decline. We're living longer than we have, and so I want to circle back to muscle is like a metabolic sponge. I love that. I will use it and quote you, especially in this day and age where there's all this focus on weight, right? And all of these peptides and medications that are helping people lose weight. And what people don't understand and how, we really do it, I think, well at the clinic with when people are focused on weight. I have learned whatever motivator somebody has. It's like, well, we're going to
Mm-hmm.
get you healthy and the weight's going to come off. But if you're losing weight and you're losing muscle, man, you're doing it wrong. And that's what so many people do. They're not building muscle and they're really just making their metabolism even slower. The more muscle we have, the better we can metabolize. And so I love I just love
Break
that
up with
saying.
the scale is the
Yes.
thing that I love, and focus on
Yes.
how your clothes fit and
Hmm.
how
And how
you
you
feel.
feel. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And
Absolutely.
I know when you're looking at the chronic condition of rheumatoid arthritis, a lot of women are scared that if they exercise, they're going to get more fatigue. But what they actually find is when they strength train, they
Hmm.
get more energy. So, and it does take a little bit of time. You're not going to get that overnight. But I think,
Yes.
energy and mitochondria, the powerhouse of our cells, is what we need to be focusing on and not how much you weigh. But
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to get rid of, though.
It is. It is. And that's where I say, I'll embrace, I didn't used to. I used to try to convince people like, do it for your health, and now I'm like, well, the approach is the same. It's, and then they buy in. They're like, wow, you're right. It really was. The weight was just a byproduct. And so let's talk a little bit about, because we have very similar, but I just had this conversation with a client yesterday about exercise. She is a kind of go big or go home kind of girl. And
Hmm.
that doesn't work when we're talking about building muscle. And she does happen to have RA. And so let's talk about your approach, because I know you take what I would call the coach approach, where it's small steps and creating habits, which I think is important for anybody, but especially for the autoimmune community, because it is, the go big or go home. You go big and then you're hurting and then you don't do it. So that is not the approach that works for sure. So tell us a little bit about kind of how you guide people.
Well, one quote I love is motion is lotion. So
Yes.
if you move, you're gonna feel better, right? So
Mhm.
like I said, there's a lot of people in the strength training world that say women need to be lifting heavy. But for me, if somebody is not exercising and not doing anything that they do to help their mobility,
Mhm.
to help prevention of falls,
Mhm.
anything they do is going to help that. Women after 50, 1 in 2 women, when they get an osteoporic fracture. So, and not everybody's going to go to a gym. So you've got to do things that people are actually going to do, right?
Yes.
And you can train to failure with more repetitions. So not
Okay.
as heavy weight. So like if you have a chronic condition where your wrists are sore and you
Mhm.
can't lift heavy because of that, you can do stuff. I've got a type of band to show people. Um, like for a chest press, you can use
Mhm.
something. Can you see
I
these?
can, yeah. Well, and a lot of people are going to listen on audio, so you could
Oh, okay. Well,
describe it
this
for
is
us.
just a band that has handles on it where you can keep your wrist straight. So when you were doing a chest press, you wouldn't be putting pressure on your wrist.
It's great.
So, so yeah, so doing something, my approach is doing something is better than doing nothing. And lots of times when you build momentum from these
Yes.
small steps, then all of a sudden you turn into this person who really, really loves exercise and wants to exercise. And guess what? Then you can do more, but you have to build up your confidence and start really slow, in order to get that momentum. If we start people out too fast, they're gonna give up, and too heavy, they're gonna give up. So the heavy thing, if you're an athlete and you can lift heavy, great. But again, I just think movement generally is so important. And there's things you can do even in a chair, like a leg extension, and put a weight around your ankle, and you can build up your quadricep like that, and that can protect your knee joint. So strength training, it can help with your joint health, um, and your body composition. We've talked about the glucose and how it helps with glucose, but it can also help with your body composition. So, one thing you can do rather than weigh is take measurements and see, what's actually happening with
Or like
your
you
with your
said,
body.
feel how your clothes feel, right? Like
Feel, yeah.
we tend to be I'm the same as you. I tell people all the time, toss the scale. I find especially women are some are obsessed with the scale. Oh, should I weigh every day? And I'm like, no. Why would you weigh every day? And what is it telling you? We all know how our clothes feel when we put them on.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I love that piece of it. Um, so I love that you said that you don't have to go to the gym, or you definitely don't have to start by going to the gym. Are bands or is resistance one of your favorite things? Like, what do you recommend
Yeah,
for?
yeah, I love resistance training. So I do that about twice a week. Um, and I have dumbbells at home. When it's cold in Scotland and your car's frozen, I just work from home. And that's it takes a barrier out of it because you don't have to physically get in your car and go to the gym.
Yeah,
And a lot of people are very, very intimidated by gyms. Whereas
sure.
if you do some stuff at home, you can use your own body weight. Things like wall sits can be really good, squats, lunges. Um, but, depending on what the condition is, there's guidelines for everything, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. So it just depends on what the person is dealing with.
Hmm.
There's specific recommendations for those things. But yeah, I love doing strength training. I do a little bit of running. I set 10K as my main goal now. I don't train for
Okay,
anything. I only do one 10K a year.
nice.
But walking is
Hmm.
fantastic. It's really good for our mental health to get out in green spaces, and
Yeah.
and walk. So that's a really good thing you can do too. And like today for me was a rest day, but I went swimming and
Okay.
it wasn't a try to
Intense.
swim hard
Right.
or it was just an enjoyable swim. So that's another thing. If you've got chronic pain,
Mhm.
swimming can be very helpful as
Yeah.
well.
Moving in the water really is it's so much more gentle for
Yeah.
especially for people with a lot of pain. I love that. And how do you feel about I want to talk a little bit about like bringing some kind of resistance or body weight training just into your day. Like um, while the coffee is brewing, you can be doing squats
Goodness, that
or,
is,
and
yes.
it really makes a difference.
It
It,
does. It does. I have this little thing here. It's called the Super Six, and it's six exercises you can do that help with strength and balance and prevent falls. And one of them is simply getting up and down out of a chair. Practicing that when you're brushing your teeth, you can practice your balance on one leg. I mean, obviously, if you're at any risk of falls or if you
right.
have osteoporosis, be careful. But it's just a way to practice balance while, you're brushing your teeth, practice balancing on one leg. Um, yeah, that I think that is a super easy way to look at it. You could have three exercises that you alternate from while you're boiling the kettle, So,
Yeah,
um,
I
yeah,
love
you want
that.
to do whatever it takes to make it easy. One thing I do go to a gym just because
Hmm.
I've always enjoyed the gym. And one thing I do is lay out my clothes the night before. I have them in a chair downstairs because otherwise I'll get up and I don't want to wake up the other people in the house, so I won't go. So whatever you can do to make it easy
Set
and
yourself
fun.
up for success. I love
Yeah, and
that.
make it fun as well. And like uh, getting a workout buddy, that can be another source of fun, is having somebody to work out with. Loads of people love classes. You can do classes at home. And something that a lot of us need after menopause is parasympathetic things that regulate the nervous system down. So, like yoga, Pilates, and that's breathing, just deep belly breathing. And these are things you can do from home. There's free workouts online that you can get and do those things from home. So I think that is really important too, is reducing stress.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think I will add, I say maybe even more important after menopause, but I think everybody needs to be doing parasympathetic exercises, whether it is breathing or yoga or even taking a walk is to me, walking in nature is a parasympathetic exercise. But I think so much of we don't realize, especially with autoimmunity, that our adrenals play such a big role in most of the struggles that people with autoimmunity have, whether it doesn't even matter the diagnosis. And
Mm-hmm.
so those people that think, we always, one of the ways I ask, find out like how somebody's adrenals are, right? Are you fatigued like from the inflammation and the disease process, or are you fatigued because your adrenals are also tanked? Is for those people that exercise and not like crazy over the top exercise. If they exercise and feel worse, we know we need to really support adrenals, but all of us, and that's, we can't heal in that sympathetic state. So I love that you brought that up, because I do think women, I don't even usually like the word exercise because so many people think CrossFit or, intense gym workouts or training. I used to live just outside of Boulder, Colorado, and there's a joke around town is that nobody exercises in Boulder, everybody's training. because
Right.
they're
Okay.
like you where it's all Iron Mans and it's a really it's a wonderful healthy place to live, but there's an intensity about it. And so I think it is important for us to realize like those little steps are where create that strong foundation, and you don't need to be training, and if you love the gym, go to the gym, but incorporating the healing parasympathetic exercises, because it is that too is a muscle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
technically a muscle, but it responds like a muscle. We need to be intentionally reminding, in modern times, reminding ourselves how to get back into that state. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that you brought that up. I wouldn't expect to hear the word parasympathetic in a conversation about strength.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think it's very important. And also, neat moving during your day, non-exercise induced thermogenesis, getting up and moving, like don't sit too long. That's another thing that I met with, she's got her, what is she called? She's somebody in physical activity that's been highlighted for what she's contributed to physical activity. Her name's
Hmm.
Nanette Mutry, and I met with her in person, and she showed me this research about people think they exercise an hour a day, and that's great. But what we need is more movement through the day. So park your car far away,
Right.
take the stairs when you can, if you've not got pain. Um, and just do things, get up.
Right.
I've got it here actually. Um, this is a cube and you can set timer on it. I've got
Hmm.
two. This has got less time on it, but my other one has like 45 minutes, 60 minutes. And
Hmm.
I'll set that if I'm working on something where I get up just for 2 minutes. Just
Yeah.
go down the stairs and move, and that can be really helpful for your metabolic health and
It's huge,
just
they say, and it is really genuine. Sitting is the new smoking, right? So I love that
yeah,
that's the thing. Like exercising for an hour first thing in the morning and then sitting on your rear end all day
yeah,
is
yeah, that's the
not the
point
key.
she had, is that even if you go to the gym for an hour, you've still got
Yeah.
23 more hours that you need to be, well, you sleep, but you need to be moving those other hours as
Yeah.
well. So, and there's another study that shows if you exercise after you eat for 10 minutes and you break that up into 3 bouts, that's more effective with blood sugar than if you exercise an hour at another time. So I love that and I try to do that. Like, so after I eat, maybe I just go out for 10 minutes to get some sun or, walk. And most people can even do that at work. They can go
Sure.
for a 10-minute walk. So
Yeah.
that's a good tip too. And that way you're getting 3 bouts of
Hmm.
30 minutes on top of everything else.
I love that, the breaking it up. And this is really where it is small steps for the win, right? Like it's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
And
know you have this wonderful acronym for those with RA, but really those with, I think well, first of all, it's wellness is a spectrum. So I know it serves anybody listening, whether they're diagnosed with something or not. But specifically, and when I think of most autoimmune conditions, they're the two players that show up pretty much no matter what the diagnosis is going to be pain and fatigue, right? So share with us your strong approach.
acronym. Okay, so the S is for start small, like we've talked about today, rather than trying to do too much. I will say, if you can't, once you get a base, try to lift a little bit more. Don't just
Mhm.
stop, but start small. The next thing is train for functionality. And we kind of talked about that when we were talking about older. When you're older,
Mhm.
you want to be able to carry your bags. You want to be able to lift things. If you're
Yeah.
trying to put something in a cupboard, you want to be able to lift over your head. So train functionally is the second one. Um, R stands for respect your joints and modify when you need to. So if you're
Yes.
having an inflammatory time and you need to not exercise, don't push yourself. Be kind to yourself and have a rest day.
Yes. Thank you.
Um, O is optimize recovery. So here, when you're doing strength training, one thing that I like to do now is space it out by between 48 and 72 hours. So maybe train on a Monday and a Thursday or a Tuesday and a Friday to allow time. Your muscles are built when you rest. So
Right.
you want to optimize recovery. N is to nourish your body. Make sure you're getting plenty of protein. And
Yes.
there's different viewpoints of how much you want, but it's anywhere between 1 kilogram um, to 2 per kilogram of body weight. And so when I looked up RA, it was saying because you have some muscle wastage anyway, sarcopenia, that you probably want to shoot for 1.5 grams per kilogram. I don't know how you feel about that, what you're.
I think that most, especially women, are not getting enough protein. So I
Right. So
think
you would probably agree with that.
I
So
would agree with that. And I think even if you're aiming for a number that seems high, you're probably not going to hit it. So aim high with with the protein. Because I really rarely meet a new client who is taking in enough protein, and we literally need it to build muscle.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So that's about N was nourish your body, make sure you're getting protein, healthy fats. And if some people, depending on what diet you have, you may not have high carbohydrate, but make sure when you eat carbohydrate, you're eating good quality things like quinoa, sweet potatoes, millet, whatever you eat. And then G is for gain confidence and staying consistent. So again, if you take the small steps and you do a little bit at a time, you can build that momentum, feel better about yourself, and then you're going to keep doing it because you're going to enjoy it. One last thing I wanted to highlight is sometimes people with chronic pain, when they exercise, they confuse joint pain with delayed onset muscle soreness, which is something everybody gets when they strength train.
Yes.
So, like I'll give you an example. If I don't do lunges for 2 weeks and then I go out and do lunges, I can hardly walk. And it's
Sure.
not because of chronic fatigue, it's
Right.
because your muscles are having to build back up. So, it's important to make sure you know which kind of pain it is, and that might just take a little bit of trial and error. But just being aware that if you've never strength trained before, you might
Yeah.
get some DOMs. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that you highlight that. And again, the way to avoid that is by starting small,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
there's the difference between that feedback information that feels really good because you can feel your muscles, but it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like I can't, or you were talking about lunges or squats, the old sitting on the toilet seat, you're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But if you're building and really starting with small and doable, and I want to highlight you really encouraging listeners, listen to your body.
Your
You need a
body.
rest day, take
Yeah.
a rest day. Shift your plan, be flexible. But if you're doing the things like 10 minutes after a meal or incorporating it into your daily routine, you're not going to be triggering a lot of pain. And then by the time you're ready for, to up level, that, oh, that's not joint pain, that's muscle pain, because I am
Yeah.
really hitting it. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I
Exactly.
love that you highlight that because it is difficult. I recall very well that when you're in so much pain to kind of just differentiate, So I love
Hmm.
that. That's
Good. Good.
good stuff. Really good stuff.
Good.
So we are at the point in the conversation that listeners know it's time to lean in and hear what is one step that listeners can take starting today to improve their health. And it could be anything. You get to pick from the wild.
One step, we'll keep it from today. What explore strength training, explore, it can be really intimidating when you go into a gym and you see tons of different equipment. But really, you need to learn about 8 to 10 exercises. That's all you need to learn, and you can have an awesome workout just from those 8 to 10 exercises. So that's what I would say is just research it and maybe get somebody to help you if you need help, get a trainer to help you. But keep it simple and know that you can learn those exercises and that it can really help you age. It can help you be mobile and go into your later years with confidence and feeling good about yourself.
I love it. And for those looking for some help and that want to learn more about you and how you support people, for the ones listening on the go that aren't going to click the links in the show notes, where's the best place to find you right now?
The best place is jenniferpatrick.wellness on Instagram. I'm new to Instagram, but I'm pretty consistent there. So I would love for you to follow me for some tips there.
Amazing. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much. This is one of those I would say listen to 2 or 3 times because there's so much goodness packed into this episode. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you.
For everyone listening, remember you can get those transcripts and show notes by visiting inspiredliving.show. I hope you had a great time and enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity. Did you enjoy this episode? Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to get a transcript of this and every other episode, just head on over to inspiredliving.show or click on the link in this episode's description. There, you can also find everything we discussed in this episode, including links and information about our guest. You can even send in your questions to be answered by Julie in a future episode. That's inspiredliving.show. Until next time, this is Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, helping you take your power back.